And so, class, we have the three common suggestions for Atlantis' location. Which is it? Well, that will be for future generations to discover. The professor of ancient history at the College of St. Clovis looked out at his students with a middle aged twinkle, as if to say that the discoverer of Atlantis might be in that very room. The bell rang. Class dismissed, he said. Desk chairs groaned on the floor and worn backpacks were zipped, as students were released in a confused chorus. In the empty classroom, the professor disconnected his laptop from the projector and placed it in his leather bag. From the hat rack behind the desk, he put his trench coat on his broad shoulders and slung his computer bag over his coat. He made his way through the late autumn sunlight streaming through the classroom windows and through the motes of dust still swirling from the departing students. He closed the door, leaving the recently noisy room silent, and aside from the settling motes still sparkling in the light, still. He made his way down the college steps, thinking of dinner, an artichoke salad with lemon chicken strips. Dr. Jack Panquin? The professor turned to see a blonde woman in her early 30s approaching him from the college entrance. Yes, I'm Dr. Panquin. The tone of his reply asked what she wanted. This woman was very attractive, and John could see at a glance that a lethal steel made up the fiber of her muscles. A black Lincoln Navigator was suddenly at the curb. Get in, the woman said. A tall, thick man was blocking Jack's escape to the left. He dashed right. He never got to take a second step. In the car. There you are, Doctor. He was coming too. The woman was near. His hands weren't tied. Good. He knew not to try anything until he knew where he was. For now, his free hands would coddle his head, which felt as if someone had inflated a brick behind his forehead. Sorry about the stunner, the woman said with genuine if not deep apology. My boss insisted that you see him immediately. Jack would have asked who her boss was, but only managed to... The woman looked ahead over the driver's shoulder. Don't worry, Doctor. We'll be there soon. When they arrived, there was a large stone mansion, towering over the autumn sparseness of a formal garden on its south side. Gargoyles leered down at them as they walked through the Gothic arch of the front doors. Jack, the bricks in his forehead a little smaller now, noticed the 12th dynasty alabaster bust of Khephren on one side, and the white-gloved butler on the other, who was now helping him out of his coat. The master is in his study, Miss Devers, the butler said. Thank you, Smithers, said Miss Devers. Follow me, Doctor. Jack followed her past not only Khephren, but Shalmaneser, 3, Nabopolassar, Cambyses, 2, and Justinian, all original. My host has good taste, thought Jack. The study was a large room, with 2-story tall bookshelves under a ceiling of leaded glass. Between the skylights, amber-shaded Tiffany chandeliers hung from chains. Between the shelves on the floor and on the walls were African tribal spears, braces of pistols, medieval French tapestries, mounted elephant tusks, and other curiosities of every description. There were brass-studded leather chairs conveniently placed for reading, a few long tables for reading, and a large oak desk with a small old man in it. Reading. He looked up as they approached. Ah, Dr. Panquin. Delighted you could make it. Why, Miss Devers, did you have to stun him? He looks unwell. Miss Devers stood a little behind Jack, who she had pushed forward, as she replied. I know how sensitive our schedule was, and he tried to make a run for it. Oh, unfortunate, unfortunate, Miss Devers, but you did what was best. Have Smithers bring us some Gangadhara tea. That should clear his head pretty quickly. Miss Devers nodded and left, closing the door behind her. What is this all about? Jack asked. I might be surprised at your calmness in this situation, if it were not for my awareness of your history, Dr. Panquin. Jack straightened at this. What history are you talking about? He asked. No need to be coy with me, Doctor. I've spoken with Ned Boucher. Poor Ned, said Jack, looking down. He's crazy. Why would you believe anything he told you? Something made him crazy, and it was during a trip into the Bermuda Triangle with you. The old man sat with his steepled fingers, staring at him with such unshakable certainty that it made Jack feel uncomfortable. I've also spoken with Ming Su Long. Ming is a dirty thief, Jack bit the words out. There is no honor among thieves, and Mr. Sulong could be persuaded to discuss his time on Easter Island with you, with the right incentives. From what he told me, there should have been quite a book published on your findings that have greatly enhanced, even revolutionized, our understanding of the island's history. Jack turned away from the desk, glowering. Yes, there should have been. His voice was low. But, continuing the old man, smiling now, all the evidence was lost, wasn't it? Dropped forever in that cave under the Pacific. And what few relics made it out were frittered away on the black market by Mr. Sulong. He paused. I've also spoken with Louise Henderson. You went and pestered Louise? Jack turned on him, walking back to the desk. That girl moved to the Faroe Islands after... The old man continued Jack's sentence with intensity. After you discovered the true resting place of the lost city of Atlantis, Dr. Penguin. Atlantis. Jack broke in, banging both hands down on the desk. After I ruined her life. His eyes drooped. Nobody should have to see the things we saw. Especially not a sweet girl like Lulu. He looked up at the old man. She never smiled after that. She moved up to those islands to get as far away from life as she could. You never should have gone up there. You never should have found her. She didn't want to be found. Smithers knocked and brought in the tea. Jack took it and sat in one of the reading chairs, his face turned from the old man. The old man let him drink. Look, said Jack finally, I don't know what you want from me, but I don't want any part of it. I'm done with all that. The little man got up, his own teacup in hand, and turned to the enormous portrait of Napoleon behind his desk. He stirred the tea. Dr. Penguin, isn't it strange how it seems to be impossible to bring these discoveries of yours to light? The collection of scrolls rescued from the Library of Alexandria. Where are they? Jack sulked in the chair, continuing to avoid the little man's gaze. The man walked to the chair nearest Jack and sat down. Where are they, Doctor? He persisted. With an exasperated roll of his eyes, Jack rattled off, In a mountain valley in Nepal, so inaccessible, I considered skydiving in from 30,000 feet, but constant high winds make that impossible. Shangri-La, said the old man. And where did the lost settlers of Roanoke go? Jack only replied because he figured the man already knew. They were picked up by traders from one of the cities of Cibola. And where are the golden 7 cities? Jack downed the last of his tea. Melted into the Yellowstone caldera. He put his cup on the side table. And where is the document that convincingly demonstrates this? Jack thought a moment before saying, I lost it. Irretrievably in Scotland. Dr. Penguin, what you're trying not to say is that the Loch Ness monster ate it. Jack looked at the little man at last. It just sounds so crazy, even to me. I think we're beyond that. Don't you find it odd how every time you are unable to change the status quo of history? Don't you think that is a strange coincidence? The old man was imploring, like a lawyer. I don't think it's a coincidence, Jack said. I know it's not, said the old man, his eyebrows raised in triumph. Dr. Penguin, my father was a man like you, always experiencing but never proving the great wonders of the world. He, like you, seemed cursed. I wanted to know why. I've spent my life not in studying ancient mysteries, but in studying the men who solved them. There have been a few besides my father and yourself, and all the same story. Great intellect put to good use, and nothing to show for it. Some would say failed lives, but as I've researched and watched, I came to know better. He leaned in towards Jack, continuing in a hoarse whisper. There have been things going on that are impossible to tell about. Things that can only be shown. The man could see that Jack's interest was piqued at last. He got up and went to a bookshelf. He pulled a copy of Black's Law Dictionary, which swung the shelf open on hinges. Behind the shelf was a vault door. The little man scanned his retina into the lock, and the 5-inch vault deadbolts, all 13 of them, snapped open with hydraulic hiss. The old man swung the door aside, revealing a small chamber, lit from the floor. Jack got up and walked toward the door. Inside was a glass pedestal, holding a little stone casket. It looked like it was cut from a nearly opaque precious stone. His host clearly wanted him to enter. As he got closer, he could see runes covering the edges of the box. He picked it up. Something scraped inside as he tilted it. The box itself seemed almost to breathe in his hands, expanding and contracting in an easy rhythm. Open the casket, Dr. Penguin, said the old man. Inside you'll find the key to all the answers you are looking for, the reason that none of you could reveal the truth about history. I must, however, warn you that there are sinister forces at work, trying to keep this hidden, and we don't have much time. Jack looked at the box. He felt that strange breathing in his hands. His mind began the process of analyzing the runes. Were they Elder Furthark or Raetic alphabet? Then he put it back on its pedestal. Thanks, but no thanks, he said, and walked out of the vault. Dr. Penguin, what do you mean? You cannot turn away from such an opportunity. I just did. The little man gaped at Jack, then at the casket, then back at Jack, speechless. Let me explain this for you, he said. I've spent most of my life desperately trying to prove the truth about those mysteries, and it has cost people like Ned and Lulu their happiness. I've stopped so I don't wreck anybody else's life, and I hope there's enough left of mine to do something with. But this would be doing something. This is a far greater mystery than all the others, the mystery of mysteries. Mysteries, mysteries, mysteries. There's always a bigger mystery. With that, Jack left the little old man standing in his study, mouth agape, staring after him as he walked away. As Miss Devers dropped him back off in the city, she said, I'm sorry you won't accept my boss's offer. I'm not, Jack replied. In fact, I'm planning on something a lot more important very soon. Miss Devers looked surprised. What could possibly be better than what you've been offered? Jack pursed his lips and cocked his head thoughtfully before saying, Well, I was hoping you might come to dinner with me on Friday night.